Maria has always loved the holiday season. It's a magical time when family gathers, laughter fills the house, and the scent of freshly baked cookies permeates the air. At just 19 years old, her heart already held many precious memories of these occasions. However, this year was special. Her older sister Clara was coming to visit with her wife Anna, who was expecting their first child. Maria was eager to spend time with them and especially to bond with Anna, whom she deeply admired. From the moment Anna and Clara arrived, the atmosphere felt different. There was something in the air, a subtle tension that Maria couldn't quite understand. While the family embraced and exchanged smiles, Maria noticed Anna seemed to avoid her gaze. Every time she approached, Anna's expression changed. It was a coldness she couldn't ignore. Maria tried everything to break the ice. She offered to help Anna with luggage, suggested outings, and even tried to start conversations about the upcoming baby. But all her attempts were met with icy silence or short, curt responses. Maria began to feel a knot in her stomach whenever Anna was around. The pain of being ignored cut deep. As everyone gathered for dinner, Maria watched Anna interact cheerfully with the rest of the family, her laughter echoing through the room. But whenever their eyes met, Maria felt a chill. Anna looked at her as if she didn't exist, as if her presence was a nuisance. Days dragged on, and Maria's anxiety grew. She began questioning herself incessantly. What did I do wrong? Why does she hate me so much? The feeling of being unwanted started to corrode her happiness, turning moments that should have been joyful into emotional torture. At night in her room, Maria cried silently, trying to understand what was happening. She remembered past celebrations, laughter with Clara, and shared stories at the table. Now, all of that seemed distant. Anna's coldness was a burden she couldn't bear alone. The young woman felt isolated in her own home, a stranger amidst her own family. Every morning, Maria woke with renewed hope that today would be different, but Anna's constant rejection left her increasingly helpless. Her heart, once full of enthusiasm and anticipation, was now marked by pain and confusion. She just wanted to understand why, to find a way to mend what was broken. But for now, all she could do was endure the pain and hope that somehow it would all pass. And so, with a heavy heart and a wounded soul, Maria faced each new day of the holiday, trying to find a glimmer of hope in the growing darkness around her. Mornings arrived and Maria woke with a new hope, a stubborn spark of optimism that refused to die. Perhaps today Anna would see her differently. Maybe today she could break through the invisible barrier that seemed to separate them. But each attempt felt like a dagger in her heart. She offered to make breakfast, but Anna declined with a cold look. She suggested they go shopping for the baby together, but Anna again ignored her completely, opting to go with Clara or Maria's mother instead. Days became a series of frustrated attempts. Determined not to give up, Maria sought small moments to connect. She spent hours researching pregnancy, trying to find conversation topics that might interest Anna. But all her efforts were met with sharp indifference. One Sunday afternoon, Maria organized a picnic in the park, hoping the relaxed setting might ease the tension. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and the air was filled with the promise of a perfect day. But despite appearing lively with others, Anna remained cold and distant with Maria. During the picnic, Anna deliberately avoided sitting next to her, preferring the company of other family members. With each rejection, Maria felt her confidence crumble. She looked to Clara, who seemed to try to balance things, but even Clara was beginning to feel overwhelmed by the growing tension. Maria started to isolate herself more and more, preferring the solitude of her room to the pain of being rejected in public. At night, when silence finally fell over the house, Maria sought solace in her mother. Once, sitting in the kitchen, Maria poured out her tears. "Mom, what did I do? Why does Anna hate me so much?" Her mother, with a sad look, tried to console her daughter, but was also perplexed. The revelation about Anna's resentment over the wedding date change came as a shock to Maria. All this because of my final exams? She could hardly believe something seemingly so small could cause such bitterness. Maria's despair only grew. She felt trapped in a nightmare from which she couldn't wake. The tension in the house escalated day by day, affecting everyone. The atmosphere, once full of joy and celebration, was now filled with uncomfortable silences and furtive glances. Maria became more withdrawn, her pain palpable, and guilt began to weigh on her shoulders. She felt responsible for the discomfort that permeated every family interaction. On a particularly difficult night, Maria tried once more to talk to Anna, hoping to clear things up. "Anna, please, can we talk? I feel like I've done something to hurt you and I want to fix it." But Anna, with cold eyes, simply replied, "Maria, there's nothing to talk about. Just stay out of my way." Those words, spoken with such harshness, were the last straw. Maria felt her heart break once again. She retreated to her room where bitter tears wet her pillow, the weight of rejection becoming unbearable. The following days blurred with pain and suffering. Every family meal, every gathering was an emotional endurance test for Maria. She was being torn apart inside, her soul wounded by a resentment she didn't fully understand. The young woman struggled to keep up appearances, but each smile was a thin mask hiding an ocean of pain. The suspense of not knowing what would happen next, of constantly living on the edge of emotional abyss, was an almost unbearable burden. True reason behind Anna's resentment was etched into her mind like a nightmare from which she couldn't awaken. Sitting in the kitchen with her mother, the sound of rain tapping against the window, Maria felt like a lost child, desperate for an explanation. All this because of my final exams? I couldn't imagine it would affect her so much. Her mother, with a sad look, explained that Anna had always been sensitive to changes in plans, and that situation had been the last straw for her. The revelation brought a mix of relief and despair. On one hand, Maria finally understood why Anna held her in contempt. On the other hand, the feeling of guilt consumed her. Every icy glare from Anna felt like being stabbed again. The tension in the house became almost unbearable. Conversations were laden with subtext, and each interaction seemed poised to erupt into open conflict. Maria tried to discuss the situation with Clara. "Clara, I never meant to cause trouble. If I had known my exams would disrupt things so much, I would have done anything to avoid it." Clara, tired and stressed, tried to reassure her sister. "Maria, it's not your fault. Anna and I have issues that go beyond this. You're only seeing the tip of the iceberg." But despite Clara's words, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that she was the cause of all the discord. Tension reached its peak during a family dinner. Anna, visibly annoyed, couldn't contain her resentment. "Maria, why don't you just stay out of this? It's hard enough as it is without you meddling in everything." The accusation, delivered in a cold, cutting tone, shattered Maria's heart. She got up from the table, tears welling in her eyes, and ran to her room where she collapsed in tears. That moment was a turning point. Clara, furious with Anna's behavior, confronted her wife in a heated argument. "Anna, this has to stop. Maria did nothing to deserve this. We need to address our issues, but not like this." The fights became more frequent and intense, and the already strained marriage began to rapidly unravel. Anna, meanwhile, seemed unable to control her resentment, and each argument only worsened the situation. Watching it all unfold, Maria felt increasingly powerless and guilty. She constantly wondered if she should just leave, to ease the tension and pain her presence seemed to cause. But Clara reassured her repeatedly, "Maria, it's not you. We were already in crisis before. Don't blame yourself." The family atmosphere deteriorated with each passing day. The joy of the holiday season was replaced by oppressive silence, interrupted only by arguments and tears. Maria withdrew further into her own world, feeling the weight of suffering and guilt in every fiber of her being. She desperately longed for a solution, a way to repair the damage and bring harmony back to her family. But for now, everything seemed like a dead-end maze, where pain and despair were her only companions. Days passed slowly, each one bringing more uncertainty and pain. Consumed by guilt and suffering, Maria began to lose hope. The suspense of not knowing what the future held for her family left her on the edge of an emotional abyss, with the constant feeling that everything could collapse at any moment. The house, once a sanctuary of laughter and love, was now steeped in tension and bitterness. Maria, increasingly emotionally exhausted, saw her last attempt to smooth things over crumble into an explosion of resentment. She felt like a shadow, wandering the halls, invisible and unwanted. It was during a rainy afternoon that the final straw finally fell. Anna, with her patience exhausted and anger boiling over, confronted Maria in the living room. "Why can't you just disappear? Everything was fine before you," Anna shouted, her voice heavy with a pain Maria couldn't fully comprehend. "You've ruined my marriage. You've ruined everything." Clara, upon hearing the shouts, rushed into the room. "Anna, stop, this isn't fair to Maria." Clara's voice trembled, a mix of anger and despair. She did nothing to deserve this. We need to address our issues without making her a scapegoat. The argument between Clara and Anna turned into a storm of repressed emotions. Harsh words and accusations flew through the air. Clara finally poured out her own feelings of dissatisfaction and frustration, confessing that she too was unhappy and that their relationship had been strained long before Anna's resentment surfaced. Anna, shaken, realized that her actions were not only destroying Maria, but also pushing Clara away. Listening to every word, Maria felt a sharp pain in her chest. Seeing her sister, the person who had always been a source of strength and love, break down before her was unbearable. The guilt deepened, and she wondered if stepping aside could truly save anything. But Clara, tears streaming down her face, told her something that would stay with her. "Maria, this isn't your fault. Anna and I need to resolve our issues. You can't carry this responsibility." The decision to seek counseling was made that night, a desperate attempt to salvage what remained of the marriage. But the therapy sessions only exposed more wounds. The fights continued, each session bringing forth more resentment and hurt. Anna and Clara were at a crossroads, and each path seemed to lead to more pain. Maria, witnessing her sister's marriage crumble, felt powerless. Each tear from Clara felt like a blade cutting through her soul. The young woman tried to help in every possible way, but each intervention seemed to worsen the situation. Anna continued to resent her, and the atmosphere in the house became increasingly suffocating. One night, Maria heard Clara crying alone in her room. She hesitated for a moment but decided to go in. Clara, sitting on the edge of the bed, looked at Maria with red, teary eyes. "I don't know what to do anymore, Maria. I feel like I'm losing everything." Maria sat beside her sister and embraced her, feeling Clara's tears dampen her shoulder. "I'm here for you, Clara. We'll get through this together." The pain of seeing her sister suffer was unbearable, but Maria knew she needed to be strong. The path ahead was uncertain, full of shadows and uncertainties. The tension continued to build, and Maria found herself trapped in a whirlpool of emotions, where each step was a deeper plunge into the abyss. She wondered if there would be an end to this suffering, if peace and joy would ever return to that house. The suspense of each day, the uncertainty of what the future held, left Maria on the brink of despair. But deep in her heart, she still nurtured a small flame of hope, a stubborn belief that somehow everything would work out. And as she held Clara in her arms, she promised herself that she would do everything she could to help her sister find happiness again, even if it meant sacrificing her own. Tension in the house seemed to reach new peaks with each passing day. Maria, now a silent witness to the constant fights between Anna and Clara, felt her heart break with every shout, every word uttered in anger and pain. She found herself trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, unable to find an escape from this devastating situation. The therapy sessions continued, but they only seemed to expose more old wounds. Anna and Clara struggled to find common ground, but each attempt at reconciliation was undermined by years of accumulated bitterness. Maria often caught herself wondering if she could have done something to prevent this family collapse. She blamed herself for not noticing the signs earlier, for not intervening more decisively when there was still hope to mend things. One afternoon, Maria found Clara sitting in the garden, staring into nothing with a vacant and tired look. Her sister seemed to have aged years in a matter of months, the marks of suffering etched on her once radiant face. Maria approached cautiously, sitting beside her without saying a word. Clara's tears flowed silently, mute witnesses to her deep pain. "Maria," Clara finally spoke with a voice hoarse from restrained sobs. "I don't know if I can go on like this. I feel like I'm losing everything I love most, and I don't know how to fix it." Clara's confession hit Maria like a punch to the gut, struggling to find words of comfort. She held her sister's hand firmly, feeling the coldness of her skin against her own, a reflection of the chill that had settled between Anna and Clara. The days dragged on, each one bringing more uncertainty and pain. Maria, always an optimist by nature, felt powerless in the face of the magnitude of suffering around her. She desperately wished to find a solution, a way to bring back the lost peace. But no matter how hard she tried, each initiative seemed to stumble over the deep scars that marked Anna and Clara's relationship. One night during one of the therapy sessions, a surprising revelation came to light. Anna, her voice choked with emotion, admitted that part of her resentment stemmed from a deep fear of not being good enough for Clara, of failing to meet her wife's expectations. Maria, hearing those sincere words, felt a pang of compassion mixed with the weight of sadness. She was beginning to understand that behind the mask of indifference and hostility, there was a woman who was also suffering. Clara, in turn, shared her own insecurities and hurts. She admitted that over the years, she had lost herself in trying to maintain the appearance of a perfect marriage, ignoring the signs that something was wrong. Maria listened attentively, her heart breaking once again for the pain her two beloved sisters were enduring. That night marked a turning point. The walls that had been erected around their hearts began to crumble slowly. Anna and Clara, through tears and painful confessions, began to find common ground. Therapy brought forth uncomfortable truths, but also paved the way for healing. Maria, witnessing the gradual transformation, felt a spark of hope reignite within her. But the road ahead was still fraught with challenges. Reconciliation between Anna and Clara would not be easy or quick. There were years of hurt and mistrust to overcome, and Maria knew the process would be painful and unpredictable. She silently prayed that this moment of mutual understanding would be the first step towards rebuilding their family. As time passed, Maria embraced uncertainty with renewed determination. She committed to being there for her sisters, supporting them through every step of the long and arduous journey toward healing. The journey was just beginning, and the suspense of what the future held continued to echo in the silence of endless nights. As the days turned into weeks, the dynamics in the house began to slowly shift. Anna and Clara, after intense therapy sessions, found themselves on somewhat stable ground, albeit fragile. Conversations once marked by resentment and anger were now tinted with a tone of vulnerability and attempts at mutual understanding. Maria observed this change with a mixture of relief and apprehension. She hoped that this fragile peace could solidify, but she knew the healing process would be long and full of obstacles. The young woman had become a silent confidant to the two women she loved so dearly, offering support and encouragement whenever possible. However, the specter of past pain still hung over the house. The emotional scars left by fights and misunderstandings wouldn't disappear overnight. Maria could see it in every glance exchanged between Anna and Clara, in every hesitation during their now more frequent and honest conversations. One afternoon, during a walk in the park, Maria saw Anna and Clara sitting on a bench talking quietly. They seemed absorbed in a serious discussion, their serious faces contrasting with the serene beauty of the surroundings. Maria approached carefully, sitting beside them without saying a word. "We need to talk about the future," Anna began, her voice carrying a determination that Maria had never heard before. "We can't keep pretending that things can go back to how they were. We have to be honest about what we want." Clara nodded, an expression of determination mixed with apprehension on her face. That conversation marked a new chapter in Anna and Clara's journey. They began openly discussing their expectations, fears, and dreams for the future. Maria found herself once again in the role of attentive listener, witnessing her sisters' gradual transformation as they explored the possibilities of rebuilding their relationship in a healthier and more honest way. The days that followed were filled with moments of tension, but also small breakthroughs. Anna and Clara started working together to redefine their priorities and commitments to each other. Maria watched them share laughs and shy smiles, gestures of affection that had long been forgotten in the shadow of bitterness. However, wounds from the past still occasionally resurfaced. A discussion about a trivial matter could quickly escalate into an emotional confrontation, bringing forth painful memories and sharp words. Maria often found herself as an unofficial mediator, trying to calm tempers and remind her sisters of the progress they had made together. It was a delicate balance between the desire to move forward and the need to confront demons from the past. Maria felt the weight of this responsibility on her shoulders, but she also found strength in Anna and Clara's determination not to give up on each other. She prayed every night for a peaceful resolution, a complete reconciliation that could bring back the joy and love that once defined their family. As time passed, Maria learned painful lessons about forgiveness, resilience, and the complexity of human relationships. She realized that true love was not just an emotion, but a constant commitment to understanding and mutual support. And as the future unfolded before them, Maria held on to hope that one day, her sisters would finally find the peace and happiness they so deserved. On a sunny spring morning, Maria woke up with a heaviness in her heart she couldn't quite explain. She got up slowly, feeling as if she were on the edge of an emotional precipice. Descending the stairs, She found Anna and Clara in the kitchen, each lost in their own thoughts as they prepared breakfast. The silence between them was laden with a familiar tension, a mix of hope and fear of the unknown. Maria sat at the table, her unfinished breakfast before her. She watched her sisters with a lump in her throat, wishing she could do something to dispel the shadow hanging over them. The clock on the wall seemed to tick at a slower pace, as if time were suspended, waiting for the next move in the complex game of human emotions. It was Anna who broke the silence, her soft voice filled with determination. "Clara, we need to talk." Clara looked at Anna, her eyes filled with apprehension, mixed with a fragile hope. They exchanged a meaningful glance, as if communicating without words. Maria, watching closely, felt her heart race, a sense of anticipation weighing on her chest. Anna continued, choosing each word carefully as if balancing a sharp knife. "I've been thinking a lot about our future, about what we want and need from each other." Clara nodded slowly, her lips trembling. Maria held her breath, knowing that this conversation could change everything. "I don't want to give up on us," Anna continued, her eyes meeting Clara's with an intensity that made Maria grip the table edge tighter. "But I also know we need something different, something that allows us to grow together, without the weights of the past dragging us down." Clara swallowed hard, a mix of hope and fear painting her face. "I feel that too, Anna. I want to find a path for us, a path where we can be happy again." Her words were a whisper laden with years of unspoken love and anguish. It was then that Anna pulled a small box from her pocket, sunlight reflecting off its polished surfaces. Maria's heart leaped in her chest as she watched, breathless, what unfolded before her eyes. Anna opened the box slowly, revealing a delicate ring, sparkling with promises of an uncertain but hopeful future. "Clara," Anna said with a trembling voice, her eyes shining with contained tears, "will you try again? Will you try to build something new between us?" Clara looked at the ring, her hands trembling slightly as she carefully picked it up. Clara's response was an almost inaudible whisper, a yes filled with emotion and a silent promise of a new beginning. Tears flowed freely down both their faces, a mix of relief and joy overflowing with each tear. Maria, witnessing that moment of renewal and hope, felt flooded with deep gratitude and unconditional love for her sisters. That moment wasn't just the end of a painful chapter, but the beginning of a new journey. A journey where Anna and Clara chose to commit again, not just to each other but to themselves. The road ahead would still be challenging, with highs and lows like any human relationship. But now there was a promise of resilience and true love that would sustain every step taken together. As the sun shone outside, illuminating that small moment of redemption, Maria knew that the house, once consumed by bitterness and despair, would now be filled with the gentle warmth and light of forgiveness and renewal. And beside her sisters, she finally felt at home where love had found its way back.